Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section here for the NE4 or NE4. This first graph that I'm showing you is the graph which corresponds to the reference faceplate, which is the black one. And as you can see, everything is, there's nothing offensive about this graph. Nicely neutralish kind of base, and we're talking about a base gain which is 4 dBs roughly, not even that. A PENON gain which is just a little bit above that. It's got a little peak here at around 3.5, then again a peak here at around 7-8K. But I mean, it's as I guess neutral as it can, as you would like it to be. The blue faceplate, which is the transparent, just further enhances this further reduces this base extension. And why does it do that? It does that because in the pop setup and in the reference setup, all of the BAs are working. In the transparent setup, it effectively becomes just a two-way instead of a three-way setup. And so the 22955 BA being used for the base is basically taken out of the equation. So you just have a full range BA, which is in this particular case the 29689, and the 231736 is for the highs. And so I think you've basically been able to gather that all of the BAs being used are nulls and real nulls, not copies or fakes or anything of the sort. It's all nulls. So it's a 22955 for the base, a 29689 for the mids, and then the 31736 is for the highs. In the pop setup, it's the way that they do it. They do it on a three-way system, where you have the 22955 for the base, the 29689 for the mids, and the 31736 for the highs. In the reference setup, you have the 29689 being used in full range and being just slightly boosted by the 22955 in the base, and then the 31736 is being used then for the highs. And then in the setup, the transparent setup, the 22955 is taken out of the equation, so it's just 3 BAs working instead of just of the 4. Anyway, this is the reference. This is the pop, and it was between these two that I did all the listening. And you can see that basically what happened, the difference here is that yes, you get this area here between, let's say, the 4 and 10K slightly boosted, although it's not as noticeable as you would think. Why? Because you have this significant boost. You have about 5 dBs across the majority of the base, but because of the way that it's again being done, which is this very quick roll off, it doesn't bleed into the mids. It doesn't congest the mids as you would possibly think. There is maybe here or there 1 or 2 songs that you could find maybe a little bit of that congestion, but for the most part, I didn't really pick up on that. And it sounded absolutely, for me, it sounds fantastic. This is the setup that I like using it the most. Okay, so let me now just continue here comparing the rest of the NE4 with the other IEMs with this setup. Compared here with the EPZ 530, I think you can already see why I said that there were certain similarities. The first similarity is in the way that the bass is done, although in the NE4 it's a tucked style of bass. In the EPZ it's a more glide style of bass. Yes, definitely a lot more energy in the mids, upper mids and treble, which is noticeable. You can pick up on that. Look, there's really not much I can criticize about the EPZ, because I like the way that it sounds. I just like the way that it sounds. I like the timbre, I like the tonality. I do, however, agree that yes, this energy here that it has in the mids, upper mids and treble can be maybe a little bit too much for some people, but for me particularly, and because I'm going deaf, I've got no issues with it. It sounds fine, so that's it. Compared now here with the PENON turbo using the setup which I mentioned, which was no super bass activated and just the 101 in the rest. Again, you can see why I said they sound very similar to each other. So the PENON turbo with that setup that I used, compared with the NE4 in the with the pop faceplate, the red faceplate, they sound very, very, very similar. They trade blows. I think the biggest difference ultimately was that I just found the NE4 ever so slightly more polished in certain songs than the turbo. On the other hand, I found the turbo a lot of fun, especially the bass on the turbo is phenomenal. And even with this huge bass that you can see here, which is again a kind of a tuck style bass, which cleans up the mids and so on and so forth. It is truly a very, very nice sounding IM. No issues there. Compared now here to the two soft ears, the Studio 4 and the RSV, this is the Studio 4. And perhaps the best would be actually for me to compare it with the reference setup. The interesting thing is that even in the reference setup of the NE4 compared with the Studio 4, I did find the bass on the NE4 to be just a little bit fuller, just a little bit more present. You can see that there's a little bit extra information on the side of the Studio 4, but this extra information, which is so down, it's so low down that you don't really notice that much of it. And compared with the RSV, again, you get a very similar curve. Let me just take away the Studio. You get a very similar curve, but the interesting thing, and let me just put here quickly the Studio 4 with the RSV. You would think that by looking at the graph that okay, they're going to sound very similar. The RSV for me has got a little bit more information up top, at least my particular RSV. Okay, I don't know about the others, and the bass sounds a little bit extra fuller. Why? I don't know. It's just how it comes across to me. Okay. Anyway, comparing the reference setup of the NE4 again with the RSV. Like I mentioned, nice side grades to each other, especially if you have the NE4 being used in the pop setup. Perfect side grades to each other. If I compare it with the reference setup, the RSV sounds more DD-like, more audiophile correct. The differences are not huge, but it does sound a little bit more DD-like. Okay, so that's that. Now comparing. Let me put back again here the pop. Comparing with the Duno SA6, by looking at the graph like this, you would think, okay, the NE4's got a lot more detail. It's going to be no. It's actually the opposite that happens. The SA6 does have ever so slightly a little bit more energy in terms of the mids, upper mids, and treble. A lot more. Not a lot more, but a bit more that feeling of space, okay, and the overall bass or timbre and tonality that the SA6 also is able to produce is very much a kind of a DD-like style of presentation, very much like the RSV. And just for the sake of you guys understanding what I'm meaning, I mean this is against the RSV. It's in my opinion just a more elegantly done RSV. It's got the same style of DD presentation, but with a bit more detail, a bit more technical proficiency. Sorry, I took out the wrong one. Compared with NE4 in the pop setup, they complement each other perfectly. They complement each other very nicely. Compared with the NE4 in the reference setup, the Studio 4 for me is a little bit more satisfying because it's got that extra bass. It's not so much here that's the issue. It's here, that extra bass, that then complements those songs that I like listening to in a better manner, or in a more satisfying manner. Okay. Compared to the Bravery, let me put here the pop, NE4, compared to the Bravery, you would think, okay, they're going to maybe sound a little bit similar. No, the Bravery sounds way more mid-centric focused, more vocal, more energy up top, and you notice a little bit more that BA timbre, but competent IM nonetheless. Compared with the Neko, the Neko is able to, although it looks like it's got the same sort of bass, it doesn't have the same sort of bass as the NE4. It's not a big difference, but it's a more satisfying bass, and the overall balance is a more it's a more, I would say, musical balance as compared to the Bravery. However, and let me just quickly put the Bravery and the Neko together. However, the Bravery still is able to edge out, even with its smaller let's say issues that it has, it still is able to edge out the Neko, and the main reason is the price difference that exists is not justified in my opinion. If the Neko had been in the $400 and something price range, then I would have had a different opinion, but at $600 plus I was expecting more from the Neko. And then finally, compared with the Tasio Mirai, the Halo, the Pop, again, like I said, trades blows. It's capable of doing a lot of things, very much on par with the Halo, but the Halo ends up just being a more polished IM, and it's an IM that when you look at the graph by itself, you kind of say, okay, full base, nicely done pin again, peaking it close to 3K, and then a gradual drop off. EST's energy over there. It's not that it's a graph that kind of blows you away, but when you listen to the Halo, it is a very, very good IM. I mean, honestly, nothing that can be faulted in it. I mean, $2,000, it sure as hell should be a good sounding IM. Anyway, guys, this is the graph section here for the NE4. I hope it was able to again clarify and help you guys make decisions, and that's it. Any questions that you might have, please feel free to ask me, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. You take care now. Bye bye.